The damage control continues for the Walt Disney Company when it involves their upcoming film Snow White. It is just a couple of days away from its release date, and already it is expected to be a projected box office failure, not just because of Rachel Zegler's comments, but also because of the story breaking away from the source material of the 1937 original, and most certainly from the Brothers Grimm tale from well before that. This is Mike Zero. Subscribe if you're new and like this video to see future updates. You can also follow me at Mike01. I thank you also very much for the great and kind support. Now, one thing about the Walt Disney Company right now is that we already know that when it comes to their overall US premiere of Snow White, they already withdrew from a lot of aspects related to that actual film when it comes to questions that are supposed to be asked about Rachel Zegler, about Gal, and their relationship as, working together as both actresses and the characters that are provided in the story. All of that is going to be limited down to a bare minimum, and this is going to be more or less of a closed event, so to speak. After canceling that UK premiere, that was the first major hint there that things were really going out of control for Bob Iger. Now, speaking of Bob Iger, he recently went into damage control mode yet again. You guys may recall that he went on a damage control train last year, I would say around early 2024, and it looks like he's starting up that train once again, just before the release of Snow White. Let's get into this. Now, one thing is for certain is that we already know that Disney knows that this is going to be by far one of their biggest films when it comes to a negative matter, because of how much backlash they are gaining for obvious reasons, and also for the fact that they engaged in their own agenda, their own ideology. And speaking about their ideology, Bob Iger really wants to go as far to say that there is nothing to do with that in this movie. Now, with the Snow White backlash continuing to get worse as they near the release of the film, between the drama going on with Zegler and Gal and Zegler's ongoing damaging comments toward the film, Bob Iger, the Disney CEO, recently decided to actually get, of course, and started up with damage control yet again, where he delivered the following. As we prepare to show the world one of our finest products and adaptations of Snow White, I must first acknowledge the undeserved and unwelcomed opinionated noise that we here at the Walt Disney Company have witnessed. There is no room in this world for inflammatory takes, opinions, and/or comments that attempt to hinder our success, and what we here at the Disney Company find to be quite offensive are the loud words that have impacted both our customers and our shareholders alike. Let me be clear, with our newest film, Snow White, we hold no agenda here, nor do we engage in any form of a culture war. That's not what the Disney Company is about, and it never was, as many would like to claim. We have zero tolerance for that type of behavior, and it's that type of behavior that I think needs to be acknowledged to teach the world a lesson for what it means to run a business model and to provide a product to our customers. Obviously, diversity, equity, and inclusion is very important to us here at the Disney Company, and many like to use the terms woke or agenda, when in reality, I don't think anybody knows what those words even mean. If you mean that our agenda is to hire those coming from different ethnic backgrounds, then we see no problem with that at all. I strongly urge everyone to let this product speak for itself, and to not listen to false criticism and false narratives that are attempting to hinder our success with this film's story that dates back so many years, and the new aspects that we incorporated into this new tale. Our decision of breaking from source material, as we saw it, was much needed in order to create an unexpected story, and we did just that. Now guys, before I move on, Bob Iger is literally confirming that they broke from source material in Snow White. We already talked about this, of how they withdrew from the Brothers Grimm tale story elements as well as the 1937 story elements. They really withdrew from a lot of those aspects. And that really just goes to show you that Bob Iger truly just despises the overall general public and those that grew up with the original Snow White tale that so many actually cherish and enjoy and have enjoyed over the decades, mind you. And I think at the end of the day, when you look at this movie in isolation, it is going to mark itself as another example of Disney's ideology really taking over a beloved tale, right? We already saw what they did with Star Wars, what they did also to the Marvel Cinematic Universe, and they're desperately trying to turn that around as we speak after losing so many customers, so many fans. We're talking about in the millions here. It's exactly why Disney Plus subscribers are dwindling as we speak, and why they lost so many throughout 2024 But again, Bob Iger continues to go off about Snow White because he knows what's coming. He knows exactly what they're going to be dealing with. We know that the trades and all of the different Hollywood trades out there are shilling for Snow White right now. They are really throwing all the good and pure reviews at this, calling it a masterpiece, calling it the best thing that they have ever seen. Of course they're going to do that. But when it comes down to the actual viewers, to the actual audiences out there that decide to go and see this thing, that's when reality is truly going to set in for the Walt Disney Company. Again, let's move on. He goes on to continue, we aim to continue our usage of diversity, equity, and inclusion in certain stories as we aim to evolve our many beloved brands across the board. As for Snow White, the delivery of this film is very misunderstood and would be best for everyone to not listen to the loud minority of people out there that are obviously driven by politics, because that is of course what we are dealing with here with the loud opinions out there that are coming from the political landscape. For critics to drag their politics into these arguments are unacceptable and something that we here at the Disney Company do not respect in the least. So again, he's claiming that the critics are just dragging their political opinions into this thing, that they're getting very political about this movie, when in reality it has nothing to do with politics. If anything, the only person that got political first, it was Rachel Zegler. Let's be clear about that. And it was her, by the way, on social media. He goes on to close, it is in my best interest to assure everyone that our film is not agenda-driven, and those claims are driven by pure lies to the people. So, look, it's one thing to say that you don't have an agenda with the movie, it's another thing to say that those claims are lies by the people, by American citizens, and quite frankly by everyone around the globe. For Bob Iger to say that, it just goes to show you that he will say whatever he has to say to protect himself and his image as Disney CEO. We all know that this is agenda-driven. We all know that's exactly why they are hiding themselves from the US premiere, why they're not going to be taking extensive questions at that premiere, and they don't want to actually deal with the questions about the whole Gal and Rachel drama. They don't want to deal with the whole downfall of DEI by the new presidency that's abolishing that, thankfully, I must add. And again, I think that Disney is just in pure panic mode right now. They don't know what to do. They are boxed in a corner with no way to get out. And that's the reality of the situation here. They want to get this movie done and over with. They want to put it in the rearview mirror. That's what they want to do right now. They want to drive away from this thing and just move on to other stuff. But again, like I've said before in the past, Bob Iger is going to go down as by far one of the worst, if not the worst, Disney CEO. I think it was a major mistake to bring him back some years ago after the whole Bob Chapek era. And I've said this once and I'll say it again. Chapek was never meant to stay there to begin with. He was just kind of there as a placeholder CEO until Bob Iger decided to come back and patch things up here and there again, to kind of take time off for a while, rethink their strategy, and do things differently down the road. Obviously, that did not work in the long run, and it really did backfire on the Disney board, the executives, etc., etc. So again, I would love to hear what everyone has to say about Bob Iger. I would love to hear what everyone has to say about Zegler and Gal and the whole drama going on between those two and this movie in general. And if you guys did enjoy the content for today, make sure to drop a thumbs up on this video to support the channel, and I will catch you guys later.